Hello, Spooklings.
I'm Jason,
And I'm Kathy.
and we're the hosts of the weekly podcast, All Hallows Eve Podcast.
We are a husband and wife duo with a passion for anything spooky, macabre, and true crime, sprinkled with our own twist of comedy.
We explore topics such as the history of Halloween, the Butcher of Plainfield, Hocus Pocus 2, urban legends, superstitions, and more.
So come join us as we go down the rabbit hole that is All Hallows Eve Podcast.
Listen and follow us at allhallowsevepodcast.com or your favorite podcast provider.
Stay spooky, my friends.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 97 of Films and Fermentation. That's right, we are Films and Fermentation, a movie and alcohol podcast. I'm Leo.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Mike.
We're three friends who like to talk shit about movies while getting shit-faced. In this episode, we honor Women's History Month by looking at some of the most noteworthy contributions by women in cinema. This episode is episode 97, affectionately titled Female Characters Breaking Barriers. Don't forget to drop us an email at filmsandfermentation@gmail.com or visit linktree.com/filmsandfermentation to find all of our social media and podcast links. You can go to Patreon or our Teespring merchandise store to support the show. We are also now on Buzzsprout. This episode is brought to you, as always, by Newsly. This episode of Films and Fermentation is brought to you by Newsly. Newsly is an all-in-one audio super app for iOS and Android. It picks the most trending articles on the web on topics you choose at any given moment and reads them to you in a natural human voice. For the first time ever, the entire web becomes listenable, all in one place. Browse articles from any topic you choose, in sports, technology, business, science, even Bitcoin. It will find you the latest articles and read them to you aloud. The entire web now becomes listenable all in one place. They also have podcasts. Explore trending podcasts from over 80 countries. Our podcast, Films and Fermentation, is located there as well. We actually started using it recently as our own default podcast app. They even have digital radio. So download and use Newsly for free now from www.newsly.me or from the link provided in the description of this episode. And if you use the promo code ANDFERMENT, that's ANDFERMENT, you can get a 1-month free premium subscription. So download Newsly now. Stop scrolling. Start listening. What are we drinking this evening, gentlemen?
As much as I can. Oh.
So I actually have a drink that I had this a couple weeks ago. It's the Lily Marlene, which I had gotten from Warhorse Brewery up in New York. It's an oaked Marzen lager, and I thought it fit tonight as well because it is dedicated to the actress Marlene Dietrich, who, aside from being a world-renowned actress, was also an anti-Nazi Allied forces sympathizer and supporter, and actually worked a little bit as a spy for them during World War II. So I thought, hey, there's a female character breaking barriers right there. So that's nice. The theme for tonight. So, Kev, what you got going on?
I'm drinking another one of the gifts from Mike, the Spaten Oktoberfest. Interestingly enough, I looked this up, and this was Greta Garbo's favorite beer back in the day. And she is also a woman worth noting. First, you know, she killed.
Oktoberfest was very popular in the 50s.
Yes, she killed Hitler. So, you know.
She killed Hitler. Was that the other Tarantino film?
When Greta Garbo attacks.
What do you got going on there, Mike?
Everything else I'm going to do tonight is themed for women. My trivia, my notes, my This Week in History, but my beer is not. I am drinking the Franziskaner Weissbier from Spaten.
That's from the Spaten beers, right?
The Spaten, from Munich.
It's like their Hefeweizen.
It's a Hefe, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, Michael, what female-related history do you have for us this week?
This day in film history.
Well, I like how you tried to start off sexy there.
Oh, yeah. In 1988, actress Audrey Hepburn is appointed a UNICEF Special Ambassador.
We already know that I love Audrey Hepburn.
I know.
I thought it was
But she was also
Hepburn.
What's that? No, it was Audrey.
No, Audrey Hepburn, man. I love Breakfast at Tiffany's, one of my favorite movies. She's one of my favorite actresses. And she was just a great person to begin with. And she did the UNICEF thing for, a couple decades, like up until when she passed away.
Mm-hmm.
What else you got for us?
I did this one because I thought it was hilarious.
It is kind of funny. Yeah.
In 1980, Emmy 7th Daytime Award presentation, Susan Lucci loses for the first time.
I think she was I don't know the exact number. I think she was nominated like 20-something times before she finally won.
Yeah.
It became like almost like a yearly like
a
joke
running joke.
A running joke.
Yes,
she got nominated. What else you got for us?
In 2016, Turner Classic Movies shows several of Claire Trevor's movies to honor her 106th anniversary of her birth.
Wow.
Who is Claire Trevor?
I have no idea, but I thought that was just interesting to begin with.
Let's talk history about people we don't know.
That was the actual name of Shirley Temple.
No, it was not.
No, it wasn't. No, it definitely was. I mean, they nicknamed her Shirley Temple after the drink, but her birth name was Claire Dunphy. What you said there?
You should know who this woman is, Michael.
I probably should.
You should know because you are a John Wayne fan.
I am.
And she was in Stagecoach.
Oh, yes.
She plays the role of Dallas in Stagecoach.
There we go.
She was also in Key Largo with Humphrey Bogart.
Baby, why don't we go?
Yeah, she was. She won an Oscar for Best Supporting Actress for Key Largo.
Montego, baby.
She was born in 1910, so I knew she was an older actress.
Yes. Okay. And then your last one you got there for us.
This one I thought was more towards what we're talking about tonight because the movie for this was made to be a mockery of the vampires, but the television series became a real hit in 1997. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, created by Joss Whedon and starring Sarah Michelle Gellar, premieres on the WB television network.
Yeah, classic show.
Hilary Swank will always be my Buffy.
Yeah, but it was Hilary Swank wasn't Buffy.
Not Hilary Swank. Kristen
Jesus
Swenson.
No, it was Kristen
Swenson.
And then Hilary Swank was one of her friends.
Right, that was it. Yeah. I knew that she was in there somewhere.
I thought you were going to say it's because you're just such a big Luke Perry fan. She's making a comeback, Sarah Michelle Gellar. She's got a new show on, I think it's a Paramount Network or Peacock, one of those.
Is it Werewolf Hunter or something?
It's called it's called like something Wolf or something. I don't know. Yeah. I can't remember the title of it, but I saw a preview for it the other day. One of my favorite Buffy facts was people criticized Joss Whedon about the dialogue that he wrote. That his shows were only popular because of the witty dialogue and the way characters talked and how hip they were and all that. So he wrote the episode where everybody loses their voices.
Oh.
And and they're getting hunted by the gentleman, the Hush episode. Yeah, to show everybody that he could write horror just as well.
Yep.
And it's one of their best episodes. It's a great episode. Do you have any must-try beers or craft destinations for us this evening, Mike?
I'm going to tell you to support women-led craft breweries. Garrison City Beer Works, Dover, New Hampshire. Nicole Gray is head brewer at this innovative brewery, which is always seeking fresh new flavors to rotate at the tap room, whether it's a new hop, an unusual fresh fruit, or a new technique. She likes to keep things quirky. Hop forward ales, kettle sours, and adjunct stouts are some of her specialties. One of the advantages of being a tiny brewery is never letting things get old or redundant. Like a home brewer, Gray has the freedom to create new recipes and see how patrons react. Stop by the brewery and see what Nicole has created lately.
That's where you said Dover.
Dover,
New
Delaware?
Hampshire.
Dover,
Okay.
New Hampshire.
We'll add that to the Films and Fermentation road trip.
Yep.
Yeah. And my sister-in-law reached out to me and encouraged me. She said there's a new one over at Love City called the Little Black Heart that I might like. And I was like, oh. And I looked it up. It's a oatmeal stout. Looks really good. So, and that is also a female-owned and operated brewery right here in Philadelphia area, of which there are many.
Yes, we are one of the Pennsylvania, Jersey, tri-state area is like very, very, what do you call, craft brew heavy.
Yes. Not that that's a problem.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No.
Notes from the last show. Our notes from the last show are brought to you by Dubby, all natural energy drink for gamers. If you are a gamer who needs a little bit of extra energy to make it over that next level, take some Dubby. It won't give you the jitters. You can find out more about Dubby by going to w.gg and using the promo code FilmsFerment to get 10% off your order every time. Dubby, be better. Dubby! Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate it. I actually do not splice it at that moment because I do the live read. But I appreciate the effort. I appreciate the effort. So our synopsis, according to Glip, it's an interesting one. The speakers discussed Apathetic Enthusiasm Network, use of sign language, title of the episode, need for an Asian actor, odds of the gangster ordering spaghetti, and 2 bags of grass.
None of this rings a bell. None of this rings a bell.
The
odds of the gangster ordering spaghetti.
So the Apathetic Enthusiasm Network was the gentleman who run the Rick and Morty podcast and Apathetic Enthusiasm podcast. That's the name of their network. They're guys that I reached out to about starting the network program. I don't know where the sign language came in at.
I think there was Kevin giving me sign language, or I've given it back to him at the beginning when I was having issues.
The title of the episode was, I couldn't think of a good name for the episode, so I just call it Narrated Films.
Mm-hmm.
Need for an Asian actor was when I was talking about James Hong getting his first SAG award at 94 years old. The odds of the gangster ordering spaghetti could be any episode, since we tend to make fun of my Italianness on a regular basis.
No, I think that was part of, we're talking about Henry Hill ordering spaghetti.
Oh, and gets the egg noodles and ketchup. Okay.
Yeah.
And the 2 bags of grass is from Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, where I read the monologue where he talks about all the drugs that they pack for their road trip.
Oh, right.
Of all the drugs that I listed, though, it went with the 2 bags of grass. So I have a movie recommendation, a movie unrecommendation. I don't know what you call a movie that you don't want to recommend, so I called it an unrecommendation.
Avoidance?
Movie avoidance, I guess, yeah. And a TV disappointment.
Okay.
Just so you know, I also heard about your movie avoidance from our friends at All Hallows Eve.
Yeah.
They said it sucked too.
Yeah. So, movie recommendation. I've been trying to catch some of the Oscar films that I haven't watched yet. One of them is a film called Women Talking, which I knew nothing about, and I was curious about it. And then another podcast that I listened to actually reviewed it recently, and it sounded kind of good. So I checked it out. It's about a group of women in a Mennonite society who find out that the men in their community have been drugging them and raping them in their sleep.
Oh.
And then they report them, they have them arrested, and then they have to decide whether they're going to stay and fight for their equality, leave, and start life somewhere else. And then there's a group of women who want to stay and forgive the men because that's what their religion teaches them.
Mm.
And so it, most of the movie is just this like debate amongst the women trying to figure out like what they should do when the men return, because another group of men in this community have gone to pay the bail to get these guys out of jail. So they're going to be returning soon. It's based loosely on an event that actually happened in a Mennonite society, I think right in Pennsylvania somewhere.
Hmm.
It was interesting, and it had some actresses I didn't expect to see in it, like Frances McDermott and Rooney Mara. And it's a movie where, like, if you don't mind a movie that's not heavy on action but is really good on dialogue and amazing performances, it's not going to win the Oscar for Best Picture, but it deserves to be in the running. So it was a really good movie, and it's not very long. My unrecommendation, I go from a very well acted Oscar nominated film to Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey.
Oy vey, man.
That I wanted to see ever since I found out about it. Ever since I found out that it was actually a real movie, I wanted to see it. And so I caught it this week, and it is an hour and 27 minutes of fucking stupidity. It is one of the dumbest movies I've ever seen. It's not even good when it's trying to be, gory and horrific.
That's what happens when Disney don't renew their rights on
Doesn't
shit.
renew the rights to things.
Mhm.
I know. It starts with Winnie the Pooh and his friends making friends with Christopher Robin. For 5 years, Christopher Robin takes care of them and helps them out and feeds them and all this other stuff. And then he gets older and leaves to go off to college. And for 5 years, the animals are left to fend for themselves. And they start starving. They don't know how to take care of themselves. They become feral. They feed on Eeyore, which drives them insane and sends them back into their feral state to the point that they don't even talk anymore. So when Christopher Robin eventually returns with his college girlfriend to introduce her to his woodland friends, the murder spree begins. It was, woof. And I've seen some bad movies. This is bad. The next one I want to see is Cocaine Bear. keep that Bear in the Woods theme going.
Again, our friends over at All Hallows found that.
I listened to the episode where they talked about Winnie the Pooh. Yeah, it was they hated it.
No, not Winnie the Pooh, about Cocaine Bear.
Mm-hmm.
That who was it?
About the story that it was actually based on.
And Ripley's just trying to buy the real bear.
Yeah, the bear's corpse, I think, is like taxidermied and available.
Taxidermied, yeah.
I have a TV disappointment because of how much I love Mel Brooks and how much I love History of the World. I was disappointed by the first 2 episodes of History of the World Part 2 so far. I did not laugh at one joke the entire 2 shows that I watched. It's just a pale comparison to the original film. Mel Brooks produced it, but he's not writing any of the jokes. Most of the dialogue and the skits are written by the comedians and actors who are performing in them.
Oh, there's the problem.
And I get the sense that they're trying to write jokes that don't offend everybody. And like, I just watched History of the World Part 1 the other night in anticipation of the series. And it's probably the 800th time I've seen the film, and I still laugh my ass off at it. Because it's inappropriate in all the right places.
And the wrong ones.
And it should be, It's the way it is. So I was just a little disappointed about it. I'm not sure if I want to go to the 3rd episode or not and try it and see if it gets any better, but I'm hopeful. So here's my hypothetical question for the night, since we're talking about actresses and contributions to Hollywood and such. If we're talking about generational female talent, I would define generational female talent as somebody like Meryl Streep or Katharine Hepburn or somebody in that, stratosphere. So who, in your opinion, do you think is the next great generational female talent? Who has the potential to be that Streep/Hepburn?
Well, one of the ones you've got listed later on does. Jodie Foster definitely has the potential.
Well, Jodie, I mean, when I say like the next great generational, I mean like a young actress now, like maybe like in her 20s or something, who's up and coming. Because like my wife had said Kate Winslet, and I was like, I love Kate Winslet, but she's like her and Jodie Foster are probably within that Meryl Streep generation when you think about it.
Right.
So I'm thinking like the first one that popped in my head was Saoirse Ronan, who I think is still in her 20s. She hasn't hit 30 yet. She's already been nominated for Oscars multiple times. She can play a bunch of different characters, including ones with American accents. She's a great actress, and she's definitely young and up and coming. And then I think another one might be like somebody like Florence Pugh.
Yeah.
Who doesn't seem to shy away from roles, both big like the MCU and, smaller like fighting for the family.
You see, initially I wanted to say, what's her name? Haley Steinfeld?
Steinfeld, yeah.
Yeah, because of her work on True Grit when she was really, really young. Mm-hmm. But since then, she's kind of fallen into the pop, blockbuster, Bumblebee, Pitch Perfect.
Pitch Perfect films, yeah. She's kind of like...
but she's also done like The Edge of 17, which was really good.
Excellent movie. And, And, she's also joined the MCU too now as the new Hawkeye character. So
right.
I would agree with that. They're like, when I saw her in True Grit, I was like, oh, here you go, because that's similar to like what I felt like when I saw Natalie Portman in The Professional for the first time.
And Anna Paquin in The Piano.
Yeah, and Anna Paquin is going on to have a pretty decent career.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I was thinking. Would those would still be in this generation or the last generation, Natalie Portman, because she is definitely going to be like Meryl Streep later on.
Yeah, I think Natalie Portman is like the leader of the next generation, but not the newest generation. Mm-hmm. She's like our age now, so I would say like she's in a generation after Meryl Streep, but kind of like one of the leaders of that generation.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the next generation would be actresses like under 30.
So where does Emily Blunt fall in? Because she's also pulled a couple things where she could do.
I think she's on the lower end of 30s. 35 or younger, something like that, maybe. I'm not sure. Okay. I also thought like somebody like Zendaya.
Yeah.
Has the potential because she's done the blockbusters like the Spider-Man films. But then she's also done Euphoria, which is she's amazing in that. She's won, I think, 2 Emmys and 2 Golden Globes so far for that show. I'm looking up Emily.
You know who else? Why can't I think of her name? She was in Knives Out, Glass Onion. Janelle
Monáe.
Yeah,
she's really good in the Glass Onion.
She's amazing. She picks her roles carefully.
Yeah.
Between Hidden Figures, Harriet Tubman, what was the other one I just saw her in? I can't think of it.
Yeah.
But she's also pretty good.
Emily Blunt just turned 40. Wow. I wouldn't know that. To look at her. Because I look like such a bag of crap at 45. It's hard to say. I just watched Edge of Tomorrow the other day with her and Tom Cruise, and I'd seen it in the theater. It's a really good movie, and I forgot how awesome she is in that. She's it's a different side because it's an action film.
You know who also just turned 40?
Who?
Anne Hathaway.
Yeah. Again, it's must be nice to be famous and all that shit because you can defy aging.
Yeah.
You can be like my girl Ming-Na Wen, who's 60 years old and could still kick my ass halfway to Sunday. So All right. We will be back with our main segment after these quick promos from Today We Laughed and Learned and the Fandalorians.
Hi, I'm Chris.
And I'm Deb.
And we host a pretty fun podcast called Today We Laughed and Learned. You know, this is where we discuss all the things we should have learned, but, well, never did. And we have quite a few laughs along the way.
Today We Laughed and Learned with Chris and Deb.
We're curious about everything. Experts on nothing.
Come find us wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello, everybody. Let me ask you a question. When you were a kid, did you ever wonder what teachers talked about in the teacher's lounge?
You probably didn't miss much. It's usually boring stuff like grading papers, lesson planning, and then figuring out the new train schedule.
Train schedule?
Well, I teach in the city.
But sometimes at one of the not-so-cool tables in the back of the teacher's lounge, you might find us, the Fandalorians, teachers by day, nerds by night.
My name is Mr. Richardson, and by day, Mr. McDonald, Mr. G, and I teach and inspire America's youth.
But by night, we debate, discuss, and argue about all things in the pop culture universe on our podcast.
We discuss all the biggest pop culture topics in the world, like Ozark, Stranger Things, The Marvelous Miss Maisel, Marvel, Star Wars, Top Gun Maverick, The Old Man, Bridgerton, you name it, we'll probably discuss it.
You guys watch Bridgerton?
Yo, season 1 of Bridgerton was awesome. You don't know what you're missing. Since we are teachers, you will always get a ton of background information about our topics and original teacher-themed segments, like our pop culture morning announcements, building meetings, and post-observation reviews of shows and movies. Oh, and arguing. You'll get lots of disagreements and arguing, like way more than I'm comfortable with.
You can find us wherever you listen to your podcasts. Just search for The Fandalorians, teachers by day, nerds by night.
Then join us every Monday as we look into the current state of fandom and pop culture.
Hey, look, the bell's about to ring. We need to head to the buses. Hopefully we'll see you guys soon.
Well, I mean, they're not going to see us because this is a podcast.
I know.
But they can't even see us when you think about it, so they won't see us either.
Oh my God, you know what I meant. It wasn't literal. Just ring the bell. Ring the bell.
The Fandalorians, teachers by day, nerds by night. I hope you listen and subscribe to us soon.
I hate you guys.
But how much we'll put in the dryer so she doesn't have to come down and be later tonight.
Such a good guy.
Go to bed late earlier.
What a good husband.
What a good husband you are.
I just want to go to bed.
So welcome back from our short break, everybody. This is our main segment tonight. Female characters breaking barriers. Now, I don't necessarily have to say characters as in fictional. I just mean actresses who have had some great firsts in Hollywood or characters who have stood out in certain films for certain reasons. All this is to honor the, women in our lives. The first thing I have here is incredible female firsts in movies. And this is, of course, just a short list of some things that I thought were kind of cool. So in 1940, Hattie McDaniel becomes the first African-American actress to win an Oscar. She wins a supporting actress Oscar for Gone with the Wind. And I thought what was interesting about this fact was at the time, they still segregated the black audience from the white audience. She was sitting in a room completely outside of the room where the Oscar ceremony was being held. So she had to leave that room, walk into the room where the ceremony was being held, accept her award, give her acceptance speech, and then leave and go back to the segregated room.
Unreal.
Amazing.
You don't know enough about birth and no babies.
1961, Rita Moreno becomes the first Latina actress to win an acting Oscar when she wins Best Supporting Actress for West Side Story. She would then go on, 40, 50 some years later to co-star in the reboot of West Side Story. And it was amazing is the actress who won the supporting actress this year for West Side Story won it for the same character. Also won it for playing Anita.
Oh, right.
In 1963, Elizabeth Taylor becomes the first actress to be paid $1 million for an acting role for the film Cleopatra, which would go on to become a colossal historical bust for Hollywood. I think the movie cost somewhere near like the modern day equivalent of like $100 million to make, and made nowhere near its budget back in the box office. In 1970, Barbra Streisand becomes the first actress to win the EGOT, which is the an acronym for Emmy, Golden Globe, Oscar, and Tony Award.
You sure about that? I thought it was Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and Tony.
Is it Emmy? I'm sorry, that's a Golden Globe. Yeah, Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and Tony Award. 1973, Julia Phillips becomes the first woman to win a Best Picture Oscar for producer for the movie The Sting. 1977, the year I was born, the first woman nominated for Best Director, Lena Wertmuller for Seven Beauties. That is the year that Annie Hall won Best Picture and Star Wars was up for Best Picture, which is probably why I've never heard of this movie. 1978, speaking of generational actresses, Meryl Streep receives her first Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actress for The Deer Hunter. She has since won 3 Oscars and holds the record for nominations with 16. And a lot of those have come within the last decade, which is crazy. In 1988, Penny Marshall becomes the first female director to helm a $100 million box office hit. That movie was big. She would then go on to direct the second $100 million Oscar or box
League
office
of Their
hit,
Own.
League of Their Own, yeah. 2001, Halle Berry wins Best Lead Actress for Monsters Ball, becoming the first black female first black actress to win that award. In 2010, Catherine Bigelow wins the Oscar for Best Director for The Hurt Locker, becoming the first woman to do so. She was also... What's that?
Before you go to the next one, I have 2 for you.
Go.
In 2019, what was it? Ruth E. Carter becomes the first African American to win an Academy Award for Best Costume Design in Black Panther.
Oh, wow.
And Hannah Bleacher becomes the first African American to be nominated for and win the Academy Award for Best Achievement in Production Design.
I was going to say with the Catherine Bigelow one, too, what I thought was funny is she is the ex-wife of James Cameron, who was up for Best Director that year for Avatar, which everyone thought was going to win the Best Picture and Best Director. And it was almost like the Oscars saying, fuck you, we're going to give it to your ex-wife.
Well, he has his chance now with Avatar, Feel the Water.
He already won it for Titanic. He doesn't have to win it again. I think the billions of dollars he's made over the years.
I know, but it's not going to be his Avatar.
It'll be his second Avatar.
It's Avatar.
I forgot to put down here in 2020. I can't think of the woman's name now. Shit, I should have wrote it down. She's the first Asian director to win an Oscar for Best Picture. She won it for Nomadland, and then she would go on to direct The Eternals. I want to say her last name was Zhao. I can't remember her first name. I'm gonna look it up real quick. Eternals. Chloe Zhao. That was the name. Chloe Zhao. And then the last one I have here is in 2023, Michelle Yeoh becomes the first Asian actress to receive a Best Actress nomination for Everything Everywhere All at Once. It's amazing that it took 95 Oscar celebrations for an Asian woman to be nominated for Best Actress. That's insane. So those are just a few firsts that I thought were interesting. The next segment I have here is great movies about female empowerment. And this website here that I have linked has a lot of movies. I'm not going to go through all of them because there are some that I've never heard of. I'm just going to pick out the ones that I think are interesting, like the first one, Alien.
That's Sigourney Weaver.
Sigourney Weaver.
This is what you get when you leave a woman in charge of the spaceship.
Everybody dies and she makes it out of the end. No, science fiction's most one of science fiction's most memorable female characters because she was not the damsel in distress. You know, she was the hero of the film, ultimately defeating the alien at the end. You know, there's a term in horror and sci-fi, the final girl, which, you know, often describes the woman who survives at the end, but it's normally the woman who survives despite being the damsel in distress. In this case, she's the final girl because she's tough as fuck. Plus, and then you can throw aliens in there as well, because, you know, in that one she kind of, you know, she shows a motherly side towards the kid Newt, but is still as tough as nails as she normally is. And then I'm gonna skip ahead to the third one on the list here, which is Hidden Figures, which I finally watched for the first time recently. It was like one of those ones that's been on my radar for a while, and I just never got around to watching it. And I'm like, well, we got this episode coming up. I should watch it.
What you
It was a really good movie. That's good. I liked it. I enjoyed it a lot. I like Octavia Spencer. She's usually pretty entertaining in the films that she's in. I like you know, Taraji P. Henson's always your and there's Janelle Monáe. That's the one. Was this the one you were thinking of?
This is one of the ones I was thinking of. This role and shit, I can't think of the other one off the top of my head. Oh well, Harriet Tubman. She was pretty awesome in too.
Yeah.
So
and this is a great film. Great and cool role for Kevin Costner in the film as well. I thought kind of like it against type for him. We had the First Wives Club on here. This is a movie my wife likes. Movie about divorced women, kind of, you know, taking charge. I like number 5 though. I think that's a good one for this list. Moana.
Yeah,
you like the crab. You don't
definitely
with the crab.
Definitely not the you know, damsel in distress, the adventurer. But then again, you also had Brave before this, and she was also kind of like do my own thing.
I think this one kind of takes it further though, because she actually kind of like Brave was more like this, you know, figuring out who you are despite your parents' expectations, which is similar to Moana, but Moana kind of goes out on her own and has this adventure and you know, discovers who she really is and starts leading her people and all that, where Merida just didn't want to get married and turns her mom into a bear. I think the argument is that the first female empowerment film for Disney was Frozen. I think Moana is. I actually think Moana is a better picture than Frozen is.
Yeah,
has better songs too.
Oh, wait a minute, hold on. Wouldn't you think?
Plus, it has that crab.
No. I don't think Mulan would have been the first female empowerment.
Oh yeah, Mulan. Mulan's on this list. Yeah, I forgot about that one. That's definitely a good female empowerment one, even though she's pretending to be a dude.
Well, times as they are.
Oh, make a man out of you. Next one is Wild with Reese Witherspoon. It's about a woman who laces up her hiking boots to go on a 1,100-mile trek up the Pacific Crest Trail, and doing so alone. You know, that's something that's kind of safe to do.
No, not a good idea.
Yeah. I'm going to go to League of Their Own. Number 8 on the list. Speaking of the late Penny Marshall, this, as I said, was the second film that she directed to make over $100 million in the box office. Breakout role for Lori Petty, who I thought would have had a bigger career after this film. She kind of did this, then she did Tank Girl and kind of like, you know, disappeared.
Yeah.
I always laugh at the scene where Madonna cries and says, "Will you go tell Mr. Chocolate Man that I'm not going back to dancing on tables?" And I'm like, that was the Oscar reel right there. That was her trying to get supported. But I'm not making fun of it. This is one of the best movies ever made. I love this film. Watch it all the time. And I love the scene with the black lady who picks up the ball and throws it over Gina Davis's head to the girl behind her. And it's like, yeah, like, okay, it's a movie about female empowerment, but you still have to remember it's not empowerment for all women at that point yet.
Yeah. But that was what the series was trying to be.
Yeah. Which I can see. I mean, I understand that, but the series tried to be a lot of other things too, and that's kind of why it didn't work.
Yeah.
Speaking of my girl Ming Na Wen, the Joy Luck Club in 1993. This is one of the first like all Asian led cast films to do really well at the box office. You know, based on a number one best selling book. Oh, Mike's favorite film, Wonder Woman.
I didn't even watch it, so
I liked it. It was
I like
well
Wonder Woman. I
done.
thought it was one of the better DC films.
Yeah.
Even though it was basically Captain America with estrogen.
Yeah. During World War One. But yeah.
During World War One, yeah. But, yeah. I liked Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. I thought it was a good film. It was also directed by Patty Jenkins, one of the first superhero films directed by a woman. And let's see what we got here. Go up a few. Clueless. Clueless, a female empowerment film. She ends up with her stepbrother at the end.
Yeah, that's empowering.
Is that empowering?
Yeah.
A way existential 90s time capsule of fashion, pop culture, and Valley Girl verbiage.
It was a good rendition of Emma.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's supposed to be a modern imitation or modern rendition of the novel Emma by Jane Austen. Puts a woman's self-fulfillment above finding a man, even if that fulfillment technically includes finding a man. Thelma and Louise.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Susan Sarandon, Gina Davis. Great film.
Taking Care of Business. Ridley Scott directed.
I remember watching a interview with Gina Davis and Susan Sarandon shortly after the film, was nominated for Best Picture and all that. And they were talking about that iconic scene at the end of them driving the convertible off the cliff in the Grand Canyon.
Did they survive?
And Gina Davis was shocked to find out they didn't survive. And Sarandon was like, "You're in the film with me," and she's like, "Yeah, but I thought maybe they could have made it."
Like there was another road beneath that nobody saw,
or like they had the ability to jump the Grand Canyon.
Didn't Sundance and what's his name survive their jump too, right?
That's a different kind of jump, man. They jumped into a river. They weren't jumping. They weren't trying to jump across the Grand Canyon. They were jumping into it. Besides, the fall will probably kill you.
Yeah. That sudden stop at the bottom that gets you every time.
1980, we have one of the first workplace comedies that deal with the idea of sexual harassment in the workplace. And it is Dolly Parton, Jane Fonda, and Lily Tomlin in 9 to 5.
9 to 5, gonna poison my balls. Going to put rat poison, which everybody keeps in the office right next to the creamer.
Yeah. Anybody remember who the boss was played by?
Yes. He was the same guy that was in Cloak and Dagger. What was his name? Dabney Coleman.
Dabney Coleman.
I got it.
Let's see what we got next here. I'm skipping a few of these. Little Women. Which one are we talking about? Because there was 800 versions of Little Women.
The best one. Well, Winona Ryder and
the one that I did skip a few. Yeah, the one that I have listed here is number 24 on the list here. It's 1994 version with
Winona Ryder,
Kirsten Dunst, and
Claire Danes, and Samantha Mathis, Susan Sarandon.
The only one I kind of skipped over, I think I should probably go back and talk about is The Color Purple.
Christian Bale. Did you skip over The Color Purple?
I skipped over The Color Purple by accident. Yep.
Oh yeah, man! Why'd you do that?
I didn't mean to do that. It's one of Spielberg's early '80s films. A surprising film to be directed by Spielberg, but still a great film. It introduces us to Whoopi Goldberg.
Yep.
And Oprah Winfrey, both of whom were nominated for the film, based on another prize-winning novel.
Yeah. I heard they're remaking this.
The Color Purple.
Yeah, I think I heard they're remaking it.
Huh. I have to look at that up. I don't know. I haven't heard that. I'm going up to number 25 on the list, which is Mad Max Fury Road, which is called Mad Max Fury Road, but it's technically about the character that Charlize Theron plays in the film, which is the Infuriosa.
Yeah, I was gonna say Mad Max isn't even in this, is he?
He's in it. It's Tom Hardy plays Mad Max in this one.
Oh, okay.
But he barely speaks. Not that Mad Max ever spoke a lot anyway in the film, but he kind of is like the side character in this film. What do you got now, Mike?
I am drinking Spartan's Optimator. It is a Doppelbock.
Okay. If you haven't seen Mad Max Fury Road, I suggest you see it. It is a fucking insane film, but it's amazing. It's some of the coolest visuals I've ever seen in a movie.
Mm-hmm.
And Charlize Theron is a total fucking badass in the film. They've actually talked about doing a prequel, I think, that's just about her character. But I'm not sure if it's actually going to happen now or not at this point. I know one of the backstories in this is how they got Millie Bobby Brown to shave her head for season 1 of Stranger Things. Was they showed her Charlize Theron in Mad Max Fury Road and how badass she was with the shaved head. Then we got The Village.
The Village.
The Witch.
Anna Taylor-Joy.
It's her first film. Mm-hmm. I called it The Village because when you see the title on the title screen, it looks like 2 V's instead of a W.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like The Village. Story about a 19th century New England family.
17th century.
17th century New England family. I'm having a little trouble seeing right now because I've been drinking a lot. It's a supernatural horror film.
Mm-hmm.
In Anya Taylor-Joy is a young girl who kind of gets sort of taken over by
she's part of the family that gets cast out, exiled, if you will, into the woods because things, and that's when the creepy stuff starts to happen.
Yeah, she talks to the goat named Black Phillip.
Yeah.
All right, what do we got next here? Number 29. It's just an interesting film. I saw this on a recommendation of a friend. It's an animated film called Persepolis. It's based on a graphic novel, and the film itself is actually drawn and animated to look a lot like the graphic novel. And it's an autobiographical story of a young girl growing up in
Detroit.
She's in Afghanistan. And she leaves and goes to France in order to have some freedom and stuff, because most of the story is her trying to be herself and be a little rebellious in a country where that is frowned upon. It's an interesting film. It's a weird animation, which it's kind of interesting to see.
Mm-hmm.
Then we got, let's see, where are we going to go next for this one?
33, I think.
33, yeah, this is a good one. This is, I think this is one to think it hasn't got seen much. It's a, was this like an HBO film?
I think it was an HBO film.
Film. It's called Iron Jawed Angels. Came out in 2004. Stars Hilary Swank, Angelica Houston, and Vera Farmiga. And it's the story of the women's suffrage movement.
Mm-hmm.
In the early 1900s, 1920s.
Yeah, 1920s.
And I remember I hadn't heard of this film before. I actually saw it for the first time in a history class at a school I used to teach at when the history teacher was showing it to her class. And I walked in and I was like, "Oh, what are you guys watching?" And she was explaining it to me. And I said, "That sounds interesting." And I sat down and I watched it with the kids. It was a very good film. Very pretty historically accurate too.
Yeah,
which is odd for most movies. Number 34 is one that I saw just out of curiosity. It's called In a World, and it stars Lake Bell, who wrote, produced, and directed the film, and is about a woman trying to become successful as a voiceover artist in a field that's mostly dominated by men. Particularly movie trailers in a world.
Dominated by men.
Dominated by men. All About Eve, 1950.
Mm-hmm.
Ready for my close up.
Yeah. So no, you're thinking of Sunset Boulevard.
Yeah.
That's
But it's
Sunset
kind of
Boulevard.
got the same idea where it's, the female roles are only the 20-year-olds, the
Yeah.
lead
So
ones
this
in the
is
theater company.
a 1950 award-winning drama about a legendary aging Broadway actress played by Betty Davis, who works for a theater company that has female roles only for 20-year-olds. In its subtext, however, it's a film with more feminist values than a lot of what's on screen today. Yeah, it's a bold subject for a film in 1950.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Desperately Seeking Susan, one of the first big hits for Madonna. A 50s housewife who wants to trade the mundane for the exciting.
Is that the time frame it takes place in?
Yeah, it says follows a 50s housewife.
Yeah, but I had seen it. I really thought it took place in the 80s, not the 50s. Huh.
The reason because I thought that too, and it's because the soundtrack is an 80s soundtrack with mostly Madonna songs.
Yep.
Okay.
But the film itself actually does not take place in the 80s, which is funny.
Mm.
And then we have Erin Brockovich at number 38.
That was a big one.
Film that
Won a lot of awards,
what's her face? Julia Roberts, her Oscar.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Directed by Steven Soderbergh, who did the Ocean's films. And based on a true story about a woman, single mother, working for this firm and investigating the Pacific Gas and Electric Company
pollution,
for knowingly poisoning its residents. And then we have I seen The Babadook?
The Babadook.
The Babadook.
Number
I've
40,
heard of
The
it.
Babadook. It's a horror film. It's about a mother and her son, and they're reading a story from this book called The Babadook, and basically the book is cursed, and so they become haunted by this character called the Babadook that's from the book. It's a unique horror film in the fact that no one dies, and it's still scary as fuck. But it's kind of about this woman, trying to protect her son. What else we got here? Booksmart. This was touted as being like the all-girl version of Superbad. But I would go so far as to say that it's not as funny as Superbad, but it's actually smarter than Superbad. And it stars Beanie Fieldstein, who is actually Jonah Hill's younger sister.
Oh wow!
Which kind of makes it even weirder. Confirmation at number 45 on this list. This is the story of Anita Hill when she takes Judge Clarence Thomas'
testimony. Yeah,
about the sexual harassment and all that. Early role for Kerry Washington. Great performance by her. It's actually a really good movie. And is there anything else on here that you guys would think we should kind of mention from the later films on the list?
Let's Go Friday.
On the Basis of Sex, which is essentially the Ruth Bader Ginsburg story, right?
Yep.
Played by Felicity Jones. Yeah. And follows her storyline.
We got Legally Blonde later on this list.
Promising Young Woman. Man, talk about female empowerment.
Did you see that one?
I did. Man, it was fucked up. That was really good.
It was
good. Really
good. The actress in it, what's her name?
Carey Mulligan.
Carey Mulligan was nominated for it last year.
Yeah. And this was kind of a dig at that whole court case of the one kid, the boy who was accused of rape, and there was a lot of evidence, and the judge kind of overturned what was going on because he saw, anything that came out of it would ruin this promising young man's, future, and it was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So,
and then she fucks people's shit up in that movie.
Yeah.
I want to mention female empowerment. If anybody out there has not watched The Last of Us yet, Watch The Last of Us, especially episode 8, which just happened this past week, and you will see some empowerment in the form of some brutal fucking people shit up.
Mm-hmm.
That is a brutal episode. I have some honorable mentions here that weren't on that list, and I feel should be mentioned. Jodie Foster as Clarice Starling in Silence of the Lambs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one of the first female-led sort of suspense thrillers like that, and a great role for her. Won her an Oscar. You got to mention Carrie Fisher as Princess Leia in the Star Wars films.
Yeah, not
She
your
was
typical
definitely
princess
not
in distress.
Yeah, definitely not a damsel in distress. Very, sassy, witty, intelligent character. Uma
Mm-hmm.
Thurman as the bride in Kill Bill. I love any movie where a woman plays a character that can kick my ass.
Yeah, we know of your Kate Beckinsale
Yeah, it's my
fetish.
Kate Beckinsale. I didn't put her on this list, even though I could have put her down for showing us how to wear leather.
Mm-hmm.
This is funny. I put this on the list. Linda Hamilton as Sarah Connor in Terminator 2. Like, not the
That
first
one.
one because she's the damsel in distress in that one, but in the second one, she's messing people up. I put it on the list, and then the next night after I had worked on this outline, I was flipping through channels, and I happened to turn on HBO, and Terminator 2 was on. And I haven't seen Terminator 2 in, God, probably like close to 20 years.
Oh, wow.
So I watched it, and I'm like, God, it fucking holds up today.
Yeah.
It's still a great movie, man. It's badass. And then I threw one of my favorite films on there, a great comedy film, Bend It Like Beckham,
Nice.
which stars Keira Knightley and Parminder Nagra. Parminder Nagra plays a young Indian girl in England who wants to play soccer, but her family is very
Parents
traditional.
want her to be more traditional.
They want her to, get married and all that stuff. It's a funny film, but it's also a very poignant film as well.
Mm-hmm.
And
Hey,
Mike,
Lay.
you had one you want to add for us?
Oh.
Go ahead, Kev.
Well, I was just going to let you know, I looked it up, and the Color Purple reboot is coming out. It's in post-production now, and it's expected to be released just in time for Christmas. But it's the musical adaptation of the novel. I guess it's the one that's been on Broadway.
Okay.
And it's going to have Halle Bailey. I guess she's the new one playing
she is the
Ariel.
Little Mermaid, yeah.
And Taraji Henson. And Danielle Brooks, who I know from Orange is the New Black. Louis Gossett Jr. is going to be in it. So it's got a pretty star-studded cast. David Alan Grier.
Does it say who's directing it?
It is Blitz Bazawi. Blitz.
Okay.
Hold on. Yeah. Blitz, B-L-I-T-Z, Bazawule, B-A-Z-A-W-U-L-E.
It's the ballroom blitz, ballroom blitz, ballroom blitz.
I wonder if he's related to Spielberg.
Maybe. I'm looking at his work. He's done the Burial of Kojo, Black is King, The Scent of Burnt Flowers, and Dias Parodical Trilogia.
Okay. I have one I want to add to the list that I just thought of. If you haven't seen this yet, check it out. If you're a fan of Braveheart, I highly recommend The Woman King with Viola Davis.
Oh, yeah.
It is a really good movie. It's a breezy movie because there's a lot of action, so it kind of even though it's longer, it doesn't feel that way. And Viola Davis is, by all accounts, one of the greatest actresses alive, so she's amazing in it. It's really good.
I thought you were going to say Sucker Punch.
Talk about women empowerment. Jesus, that movie's fucking ridiculous, man. That was who directed it? Is that Zack Snyder directed that?
Probably. It's his style.
I think it was Zack Snyder directed it. And it was like, how can I get these 4 girls to dress like
schoolgirls?
Dolls? Yeah. So, Mike, what's that thing you got there for us? A new Disney Plus docuseries.
Yeah, it only has 4 episodes on it so far. It pretty much goes behind the scenes and talks about the roles that these women play in the Marvel movies. The first one is about the women of Black Panther.
Okay.
And as I mentioned, 2 people won the Oscar for stuff behind the scenes for Black Panther. It goes with, talks about the sister and, all the characters around Black Panther. The second one is Captain Marvel, and how that movie, it's all about the woman character.
Mhm.
But then it also had the most women in the background in the production
The
of it.
production team.
Yeah, and then it goes to the next episode is with Scarlet Witch, which they talked a lot about. Hers is a growing from girl to woman story, more or
Yeah.
less. Even with WandaVision,
Yeah.
which they said is more like her going through the stages of grief, and her story is more about what's it called, mental illness
Yeah.
because of all her grief. And the last one was Guardians.
Okay.
So it talks about the three women on there, and all the background stuff. So it's very good because a lot of the roles have changed in movies for women, especially in Marvel movies, because there's a lot more kick-ass women in the movies and a lot more women in the background doing stuff that they wouldn't get a chance before, being a lead of set design and such.
Yeah, it sounds cool. I have it on my list of shows I want to check out when I get the chance to. It sounds good. Do you have any beer trivia or history for us this evening, Mike?
I got some beer trivia for you guys. Russian Imperial Stout took that name because they were much favored by the Russian royal court of Catherine the Great in the 18th century. They were brewed in England and shipped northeast for export. North Coast Brewing Company brews a fine example of the historical style called Old Rasputin. So Catherine the Great was drinking her beer.
Yeah.
That's what made her so great.
So I don't know if we need to revisit our drinks tonight or not, because all of us have drank things that we've had before.
Yes.
Right?
I'm on my second one that I haven't had before.
Okay. The Heffy.
No, the Dunkel.
Okay.
The Doppelbock. The Doppelbock.
And then,
It's strong as shit.
like I said, I had a Lily Marlene, which is the drink dedicated to Marlene Dietrich. Kevin had his Spaten Oktoberfest and Lager. All right. So thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight for episode 97, Female Characters Breaking Barriers. We hope you enjoyed listening to this podcast as much as we enjoyed recording it for you. Don't forget to drop us an email at filmsoffermentation@gmail.com or visit linktree.com/filmsoffermentation. See all of our social media and podcast links. We'd like to hear your thoughts on who you think is the next generational talent, generational actress talent out there. Is it Florence Pugh? Is it Saoirse Ronan, like we talked about tonight, or is there somebody else that you have in mind? Please let us know.
And give us any suggestions. If anybody's seen a movie that's very, female empowering, or something that we missed, or something that we should be listening or watching, let us know.
Yeah, exactly. Don't forget to stop by the Crossroads Tree Pickler for a minute next week as we present our St. Patty's Day episode. We'll be recording on March 16th, the day before St. Patty's Day. So we are going to do, for episode 98, revisit one of our favorite films amongst the three of us, The Quiet Man.
John
Not very empowering.
Yes, and this is not. Yes, this is not a recasting.
Whoa! Catherine O'Hara is definitely Maureen O'Hara.
Maureen O'Hara. So this is not a recasting thing. This is not a review or whatever. We're just going to do a little retrospective about a film that we love and that fits the St. Patty's theme. So that'll be
stick for you, honey, for the woman.
That'll be next week. That'll be episode 98. Episode 99, the week after that, we're going to be doing a little look at the career of Tim Burton, one of our favorite directors, and that'll be leading us into our 100th episode at the end of the month. We'll have some special stuff in store for that, so stay tuned, everybody. In the meantime, I'm Leo.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Mike.
Cheers, folks.
Cheers.
Adios.
I wanted to tell a story, but I didn't know if it was appropriate for the episode, but given how we were trying to be respectful.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought it was funny, and I wanted to tell it, so I figured I could put it in the blooper section. It's the thing I sent you, Kev, about with the kid, the dad asking the kid about the Disney princesses. And all that.
Yes.
And he goes, so this dad's talking to his two young sons. I want to say they're probably like 10 and 12 or something like that, And the dad goes, so if you had a chance to marry any Disney princess you want, who would you marry? And the one kid, without thinking, without like even a second of
missing
thought,
the beast.
goes,
Missing the beast.
Karen Gillan. And the dad goes, Karen Gillan's not a Disney princess. And then the mom's like, boy, you didn't even think about that. You just knocked that one right out of the park, didn't you? Karen Gillan. She goes, like Doctor Who, Karen Gillan? And he goes, no, Jumanji, Karen Gillan. You know, the sweaty, moist Karen Gillan.
The better one was the younger kid.
And then the dad's like, shut up, everybody stop talking right now. I don't want to hear it anymore. I don't want to hear it anymore. And then the younger son, who's like, I guess like about 10 or whatever, goes, would it be wrong to say I want to do Princess Penelope? And the dad goes, who? And he goes, from Wreck-It Ralph. And he goes, Princess Penelope? He goes, yeah, is it wrong to say you want to do her because she's so small? And the dad goes, what do you mean by do her? He goes, do you mean like what I think you mean? And the kid goes, yeah. And dad's like, that's it. We're done with this conversation. We're done. I just love the whole, I want the Jumanji Karen Gillan, the sweaty moist one.
Moist one.
Clicking on the link again.
Here he comes.
There we go. Come on, Mike. 6 times the charm.
Hello.
Still having problems with my camera for some reason. At least you can hear me now.
We could hear you before. You couldn't hear us.
Right. Why is it not seeing my fucking camera?
You never look better, Mike.
Yeah. What the fuck?
Michael.
Okay, that's one that we want to try to get on Cinema HD.
I don't recommend that either.
No, it's not that good.
Oh, it's terrible. It's really bad. It's like
that's a shame.
When they're when you try to tell jokes without offending anybody.
Oh, yeah. That kind of deflates it.
Yeah, like he's not writing it. It's not Mel Brooks writing it. He's just producing it. The writers are mostly the comedians and actors who are appearing in the show.
I got you.
Yeah.
And I want to see if we can watch Ted Lasso.
I love Ted Lasso. Ted Lasso's great.
Yeah.
That's on the Cinema HD. You can get that on there.
Okay. That's what we want to see.
The new season starts next week.
Is that on Hulu or Apple TV?
That's Apple.
Okay.
I was like, I don't need another streaming service. So.
No, neither do I.
I haven't even seen Mike's not even on the
page
right now.
He's disassembling his entire computer right now. Maybe if I just clean off the chips of RAM.
He's like Lloyd Bridges in Airplane. I picked a bad day to stop smoking. Oh shit!
Mike.
Hey! He turned it off and turned it back on again.
But he can't hear us.
Hey!
When all else fails, reboot the fucking thing.
Mike, are you there? We can't hear you. Mike?
Mike?
Mike, are you there?
Huh? Did somebody say something?
What?
Yeah. Fuck it.
Well, we did half the show already, so
Oh, good.
we just need you to do the history. This week of film history, I'll splice it in and we're done.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.